So, chapter 19 of Matched.
Oh, wait, before we start, we finished the book at Russell.
Oh, good. I'll talk to you about it after, okay? So remember, chapter 18 was about the officials coming to the house and taking their artifacts away, right?
Yeah.
So what did they take away from Kasha?
The watch? No, her compact.
Compact. And
yeah.
Bram,
The watch.
the watch. The air train into the city the next morning is almost silent. No one wants to talk about what happened in the borough last night. Those who gave up their artifacts are hushed with the loss. Those who never had any to begin with are quiet out of respect. Or perhaps out of satisfaction, because now everything has been equalized. There we have that word again, equal. Everything is equal. Before he gets off his stop for swimming, Xander leans over to kiss my cheek and says softly, under the new roses in front of Kai's house. He steps off the air train and disappears with the other students while I ride on toward the arboretum. Questions crowd my mind. How did Xander hide the artifact in the Markham's flower bed unseen? Does he know it belongs to Kai, or is it a coincidence that he picked the Markham's house as the hiding place? Does he know what I'm starting to feel for Kai? Whatever Xander knows or guesses, one thing is certain. He couldn't have picked a better hiding place. We're all charged with keeping our yards neat and clean. If Kai digs in his own yard, no one will suspect anything. I just have to tell him where to look. Like everyone else, Kai stares out the window as we glide toward the arboretum. Did he see Xander's kiss? Did he care? He does not meet my eyes. We're pairing off for this next round of hiking, the officer says once we reach the bottom of the hill. You are each partnered with another hiker according to ability assessed by analyzing the data I collected from your earlier hikes. That means Kai is paired with Kasha, Livy is paired with Tay. Livy's face falls, and I try to keep mine expressionless. The officer finishes reading his list. You have a different goal on the hill, he says. You won't ever see the top here. The society has asked us to use our hiking time to mark obstacles on the hill. He gestures to the bags piled next to him. They hold strips of red cloth. Every pair takes a bag. Tie the markers on branches near fallen trees, in front of particularly bad thickets, etc. Later, a survey crew will come through. They're going to clear and pave a path on the hill. They're going to pave the hill? At least Grandfather doesn't have to see it. What if we run out of cloths? Lon whines. They haven't cleared the hill in years. There'll be obstacles everywhere. We might as well mark every tree we see. If you run out of cloths, use rocks to make cairns, the officer says. He turns to Kai. Do you know how to make a cairn? There's the briefest of hesitations before Kai answers. Yes. Show them. Kai gathers a few rocks from the ground around us and sticks them, largest first, in a small pile. His hands are quick and sure, the way they are when he's teaching me to write. The tower looks precarious, but it does not fall. See, it's simple, the officer says. I'll blow my whistle later, and that means you need to start making your way back. You blow your whistles if you get lost. He gives each of us a standard issue metal whistle. It shouldn't be hard. Just head back down the mountain the way you came. The officer's thinly veiled disgust for us used to amuse me. Today, I understand it. I feel disgust when I think of how we climb our little hills when the officials say the word, how we hand over our most precious items at their bidding, how we never, ever fight. When has she talked about fighting before? What reminds her of fighting? The poem, right? Rage, rage against the dying of the night. So when she's talking about rage, it's talking to fight, and that's why she says she realizes why that poem wasn't kept, because it tells them to fight. We are barely out of view of others when Kai turns to me and I turn to him, and for a moment I think he is going to touch me. I sense more than see his hand move slightly and then drop back down. I feel a disappointment deeper than the disappointment I felt this morning when I opened my closet and did not see the compact resting there. Are you all right? He asks. Last night when they searched houses, I didn't know until after I came home. I'm fine. My artifact, is that all he cares about? I whisper fiercely. It's in your flower bed, buried under the new roses. Dig it up and you'll have it back. I don't care about the artifact, he says. And although he still does not touch me, I am warmed by the fire in his eyes. I couldn't sleep at all last night, worrying that I'd gotten you in trouble. I care about you. Those words are quiet here under the trees, but they sing loudly in my heart, louder than all the 100 songs caroled all at once. And his eyes are shadowed underneath from thinking about me. I want to reach up and touch that skin under his eyes, the one place I've seen any vulnerability in him, make him feel better. And then I could run my fingers there, across his cheekbones, down to his lips, to the place where his jaw meets his neck, where his neck meets his shoulder line. I like the places where one part meets another, I think. Eyes to cheek, wrist to hands. Somewhat shocked at my own thoughts, I take a step back. How did you... Someone help me. Xander, he says. How does he know? Xander, I agree. Neither of us speaks for a moment. I stand back, seeing him whole. Then he turns and begins to walk through the trees again. It's slow going. The underbrush grows so tangled here that it's more of a climb than a hike. Trees that fell have not been cleared away and lie like giant bones across the forest floor. Yesterday, I begin. I have to ask, as inconsequential as the question now seems. Were you teaching Livy how to write? Kai stops again and looks at me. His eyes seem almost green under the canopy of trees. Of course not, he says. She wanted to know what we were doing. She saw us writing. We weren't careful enough. I feel stupid and relieved. Oh. I told her that I'd been showing you how to draw the trees. He picks up a stick next to me and starts moving it around to make a pattern that does look remarkably like leaves. Then he places the stick down on the trunk of a tree. I keep looking at his hands after he is finished, not sure what else to do. No one draws once they're out of first school. I know, he says, but at least it's not expressly forbidden. I reach into the bag I carry for a piece of red cloth and tie it on a fallen tree near Kai. I keep my eyes down, looking now at my fingers as they twist the fabric into a knot. I'm sorry about the way I acted yesterday. When I straighten up, Kai has already moved on. Don't be, Kai says, pulling a tangle of climbing green vines away from a shrub so that we can pass through. He throws the vines at me and I catch them in surprise. It's good to see you jealous once in a while. He smiles. Sun in the woods. I try not to smile in return. Who said I was jealous? No one, he says. I could tell. I've been watching people for a long time. Why did you let me hold on to it anyway, I ask him. The case with the arrow. It's beautiful, but I wasn't sure. No one but my parents know I have it, he says. When Em gave me the compact to give back to you, I noticed how alike they were. I wanted you to see it. His voice suddenly sounds lonely all of a sudden, and I can almost hear another sentence, the one that instinct still keeps him from saying. I wanted you to see me. Because isn't this what it's all about? The golden case with the arrow, the bits of story offered here and there. Kai wants someone to see him. He wants me to see him. My hands ache to reach for him, but I can't bring myself to betray Xander in that way after everything he has done. After he saved us both, Kai and me, just last night. But there is something I can continue to give Kai that is purely mine, that doesn't belong to Xander. The poem. I only mean to tell him a few more lines, but once I start telling him, it's hard to hold back, and I say the whole thing. The words go together. Some things are created to be together. The words aren't peaceful, Kai says. I know. Then why do they make me feel calm? Kai asks in wonder. I don't understand. In silence, we push our way through more undergrowth, the poem heavy in our minds. Finally, I know what it is I want to say. I think it's because when we hear it, we know we're not the only ones that ever felt this way. Tell it to me again, Kai says softly. His breath catches, his voice is husky. All the rest of the time, until we hear the officer's whistle, we move up the hill, repeating the poem back to each other like a song that just the two of us know. Before we leave the forest, Kai finishes teaching me to write my name in the soft dirt underneath one of the fallen trees. We crouch down, red cloths in hand, acting as though we're tying them on in case anyone comes by to see us. It takes me a little while to learn S, but I like the way it looks, like something leaning into the wind. The clean line and dot of I is easy to master, and I already know how to write an A. I write each letter in my name and connect them together, Kai's hand near mine to guide me. We don't quite touch, but I feel the warmth of his hand, the length of his body crouched behind me as I write, Kasia. My name, I say, leaning back and looking at the letters. They are wavy, much less Sure, then the letters that Kai writes. Someone passing by might not even recognize mine as letters at all. Still, I can tell what they say. What next? Now, Kai says, we go back to the beginning. You know A, tomorrow we'll do B. Once you know them all, you can write your own poems. But who would read them? I ask, laughing. I would, he says. He gives me another folded napkin. There, between greasy thumbprints and traces of food, is more of Kai for me to see. I put the napkin in my pocket and think of Kai writing out his story with his red hands, seared from the heat of the job he does. I think of him risking everything every time he slips one napkin into his pocket. All these years he's been so careful, but now he's willing to take a chance because he's found someone who wants to know, someone he wants to tell. Thank you, I say, for teaching me how to write. Thank you, he answers. There's a light in his eyes, and I am the one who put it there, for saving my artifact and for the poem. There's more to say, but we're learning how to speak. Together we step out of the trees, not touching, not yet.